That. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
All right. The time is now 6 p.m. on July 20th, and I'll call our regular scheduled McMinnville Fire District Board of Directors meeting to order. I can call on our chief to do roll call.
Director Sparrow. Here. Secretary Pratt. Here. Treasurer Trapp. Here. Vice President Smith. Here. President Garvin.
Here.
We have a quorum, all present.
All right. Now, if I could call on Director Pratt to lead some special meetings.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Pratt. That brings us to changes to the agenda. Anybody have any proposed changes to the agenda?
I'd like to go on record of two handouts were placed in the packet on the table this evening that we just received today, or they're in the packets this evening. One was an email from ESCI regarding agenda item BA. And the other one is from International Association of Fire Chiefs regarding the same item. So those items were laid on the table this evening about that subject up tonight.
Okay. Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. In our packet, we had minutes from the July 5th meeting and our July 11th meeting. Does anybody need any modifications to those, or if not, I entertain a motion to.
I compared them to my notes and everything seems to be in order, so I'd like to move that we approve both sets of minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Consent agenda is moved by Director Pratt, seconded by Director Sparrow. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next item is our financial report, which is still not there. Which brings us to public comment. We all did receive an email this afternoon. I just got when I opened up my inbox, but it looks like it was CC'd to all of us. So I'll forward that to the chief from Dennis Gex, and that'll be in our amended packet when it gets posted. But other than that, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Anybody on Zoom, Chief Hannafin? All right, not seeing anybody, we'll close public comment. Which brings us to our fire chief recruitment process. And I'll call on the chief and HR director just to brief us on that.
So originally, this was going to be a discussion around, originally designed to be a discussion around, should we do the recruiting in-house or should we be looking at company to assist with the recruiting? After speaking with Vicky, but it was pretty apparent that we needed to find help with the process, make sure we could get it done in a timely manner, that the staff support that was available. So we asked for some options. We had 4 options that we knew of. There were obviously others out there, but 4 that we have all used in one time or another to get some estimates. There were some pricing quotes and service levels. In the staff report, you see that we spoke with special districts, which gave us some information. There are a couple of handouts in there of all of the work that they do in the process. We spoke with International Association of Fire Chiefs, their recruitment group there. There's an email there's a email in your packet from that gentleman who we were working with. And then we also spoke with ESCI, which is a consulting group that was formed here originally, now is a nationwide one headquartered over in Virginia. And there is, I received a informational proposal from them today that was added onto the table in your packet also. In addition, the finance director, I apologize for that. The human resources director spoke with Prothman, who is a pretty well-known public safety advertising group. They do a lot of government advertising. They didn't have the capacity to support us until after September, is that accurate? Until September or later, and we felt that was too late to get started in the process. So to summarize what you see in your packet, International Association of Fire Chiefs have some a base cost. And so I apologize if I'm about the information. Thank you. ESCI, let's go with them. ESCI has a ballpark figure because of $20,000 to $25,000 for the recruitment process. They also charge for travel. There's no plan for anyone to be in the building or in during this process unless we specifically ask them to be. And then there are travel costs associated with that, not to exceed a certain number, $6,000, and some other prices associated with that. International Association of Fire Chiefs, I believe they have the proposal that was put on the table. Their proposal is 15%. 15% of the negotiated wages of the candidate. There's also terms and for costs of travel for them to be here if we wanted them to be here in pocket for the process, not to exceed $5,000, advertising not to exceed $2,500, and direct expenses all billed on top of that. In the next section, you'll see that the fire chief's job description is posted with the salary range as it currently is with the city of McMinnville. So if you were to bring someone in anywhere within that salary range, your 15% could be anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. That company does offer a guarantee if the individual were not to stay for the year, they would re-advertise, re-promote, and do the process again at no cost for the base charge. Any of the travel and all the other stuff would still be charged a second time. We reviewed the offerings of each of the groups. Special districts offers the same suite of services. They also have in-state consultants that would be here to help us work through the process. They'll come to the board meetings and help lay out the process for the board of directors. They'll help build the questions. They'll help run the process. And on the day of the process, if we even need extra facilitators for the process, they'll have them here to assist us, all for that $6,000 price. I know that I printed off an old flyer. I apologize that off their website. Their actual price is $6,000 for the cost. Their main and advertising for them. They'll advertise obviously on Special District's website. That's included in the price. They'll advertise on Western Fire Chiefs Daily Dispatch, and they'll advertise in other locations. We have places, I believe, that we're members of the city that we can advertise on. Some other places, if the district chose to go to some sort of national advertising process. In addition to that, some of those costs we might have to incur, but the majority of the costs are within the $6,000 of the special districts. So the special districts let me know that they are not a headhunter, and I asked what that meant. We're not a headhunting company. And basically what that meant is they don't keep a rolling tab of emails and contact numbers to fire out the job application or the job information to. It'll be through a true advertising process where Prothman has a group of people that they keep in their roles and they just send emails out to them all the time. So, but if you look at what they offer, the services are very similar. They're very, except that they're local, in-state available, and their rates are for the actual costs of the process. They are not, according to them, it's a service they provide to their members. That's why the costs are where they are. They're not trying to, they're not using it as a revenue stream for SDAO. That was their conversation with me in the pinch.
Is Western Fire Chiefs a headhunter?
Western Fire Chiefs probably has a list of email addresses from their members. Okay. Well, there's a rep from Western Fire Chiefs online. I'll be happy to have them share you if you have any questions for Western Fire Chiefs. We can let you open up the questions for him on that.
I guess my question before we get to that would be, if we go with SDO, do we have the capability, Vicky or somebody else, to do some proactive outreach and headhunting, or are we just wanting to close the app?
Yeah, so typically, when they're doing headhunting, they're reaching out to individuals in roles that might come over to this or in similar roles. So we can do that in-house, creating a flyer or an email and reaching out to those candidates. We just need to set who we would want to reach out to and start to build it. Send them.
Understood. If the Western Fire Chiefs representative would like to chime in on their headhunting capabilities.
Sure. Thank you, board members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Randy Groom, I'm the recruitment coordinator for Western Fire Chiefs. We have an executive recruitment team. It is not a primary revenue stream for Western Fire Chiefs. I'm a part-time employee and I do only recruitments for fire chiefs. We typically put together a team that includes me and either an active or retired fire chief who comes alongside, and we work together. Our raft of services is very similar to the others. We do maintain, I maintain a network of fire service officers throughout the West and the nation to a degree, although we recognize there are some differences in the fire service, and we emphasize certain areas more than others in terms of compatibility with kind of how we do things in the West. But we are national. We do maintain a network of people that we communicate directly with, and then also advertise through the normal channels. We run the daily dispatch, so we use that. That is a very effective tool for us, and simply because it's ours, we can run our recruitments as kind of a featured banner at the top, and that's been very successful. It's just a very widely read publication that a lot of folks in the fire service tend to pay attention to. As the chief mentioned, we do have the guarantee after a year. We don't use that often. We certainly don't want to, but we know there's often circumstances that can arise, and we simply want the hiring agency to have that level of confidence that if something doesn't work out right, we're still there with you. I had a good conversation with the chief the other day about our process. We want to tailor the process to what you want and need. If you want us there, we're there. If you don't want to incur the expense of me traveling or anything else, we will certainly tailor that. I like to be there in person. I think that personal touch and that presence in the community ends up with a better product. Our office is based in Wilsonville. We obviously have folks spread out throughout the West. But if some of that helps answer your questions, and I'm happy to answer anything specifically if I missed it.
Any questions for Randy? Just to clarify, Randy, so travel would be localized, you'd be deploying out of Wilsonville, or do you personally come somewhere else?
I will personally come. I come from California. I have a home in Northern California and Central California. So I usually come from Northern California, and then whoever I partner with, it depends which chief we select. The ones we've been using most recently have come from Oregon and Western Idaho, but we really tailor that to kind of meet the needs so that will be reasonably local, at least regional for you.
Okay, thank you. I'm good on questions. Anybody else?
So I'd expect they'd give us a list of candidates and we'd interview those candidates?
So you asked this question for Western Chiefs?
Yeah,
Yeah, our process, this is where we differ from some of the others. Our process, in my opinion, values the candidates as highly as it does the hiring agency. And we offer candidates the opportunity to remain anonymous through the first half of the process, which means that we meet them, we deal with them individually and personally, but we keep their names confidential until we have a chance to brief you on the matrix of candidates and let you know who's out there. What that does is provide the candidates a safe opportunity to explore this process and make sure that it's one they're interested in. You can imagine, and you may have experienced, candidates who are kind of out there sometimes fall into kind of a drama situation where you have agencies trying to figure out who they are and where they're from, and unions talk to unions, and you have some interesting stuff that happens. We keep the candidates anonymous through the first half until we have a chance to brief you and decide who you want to proceed with. And we put candidates into a matrix that the bands in that matrix are fully aligned, mostly aligned, partially aligned, and not aligned. And that helps us tell you who we believe, in our experience with these folks, fits the candidate profile that we've established based on your needs. Once we then proceed, the candidates become known. We work with you on the latter phases of the process, whether you want to do multiple panel interviews or exercises, whatever. Then it becomes a little more traditional. It will look a little bit more like what most folks would be used to. But we found that a lot of folks are hesitant, or at least a little reticent, about jumping out there until they know more about the opportunity, the community, the needs. And so that's something we do a little differently. And frankly, it's why I got involved with Western Fire Chiefs doing this, because I retired as a city manager. I was on the hiring side of things. We worked with Western Fire Chiefs to find our chief. The year before I retired, we brought in the final candidate from Casper, Wyoming. And I went and did his background myself, and working through Western Fire Chiefs process, I just became a fan. I've worked through many recruitments of department heads and others, and it's different. I liked it. The candidate liked it. It was just a much more comfortable and, I thought, successful process, which is, long story, somewhat shorter, how I ended up working with them.
Thank you, Randy.
Could you share if you've done a process recently in Oregon, where that was?
The most recent ones we've done have actually been Lewiston, Idaho, Pasco, Washington. We have a deputy chief recruitment right now in Kennewick. We have 2 proposals out in Washington, in Oregon, and I did Mammoth Lakes, California. I will say I don't aggressively pursue a lot of them because I don't particularly want to do more than 2 at a time. I think I can give you my close personal attention and give you the best service and product if we're not constantly scrambling for new business. And like I said, Western Fire Chiefs doesn't do this as a primary revenue source, so that's not why we do it. So I prefer to keep it a little more tailored and personal.
Thank you.
Other questions? What's next step?
So I wanted the board to have the opportunity to look at the options on the table. But I know we are under a time crunch. So if there's interest in moving forward and having a contract with any of these organizations back before for the next meeting, I'll need the direction from the board to do that tonight.
Okay, so with that, I just open up discussion among us. We'll just go down through the board and get your thoughts on if and who you would like to move forward with. I'll start with you, Director Scott.
I think it's a lot to go through as far as having multiple different options to make maybe that decision tonight. For me personally, I'm sure combing through it more thoroughly, I'll have more questions. I understand we're under a time crunch. I don't know if we can have that falls under an emergency meeting, if we can come back together. But that's where I'm at personally.
What about you, Director Pratt?
Big price difference between the two top contenders, Western Fire Chiefs and SDAO. It appears that SDAO is probably going to use the same advertising means as the more expensive one. Would be good to have a little bit more time to study and understand exactly what they're going to do.
Okay. Director Smith?
I agree with what has been said already, that this is probably too short a timeline for us to make a decision tonight. I'd like more time to look through these proposals, and whether we come back meeting or we can communicate back to you. I guess we'd have to vote on, so come back for another meeting, I suppose. Right.
And what about you, Director Sparrow?
I believe I'm in the consensus here that we are just getting this information, some of it tonight. So I can come back after having been able to look through it.
Fair enough. Similar thoughts. I definitely want to make sure that we do this right, do it one time. And I would like, to get the process started as soon as possible, but I also don't want to rush it to come up with an inferior product or process. So if you guys would like more time, I'm happy to oblige that. As I would share Director Pratt's comments that, it does seem Western Fire Chiefs and SEO are top two potentials. So ask you guys to really do those and see if, Western Fire Chiefs somewhere in their proposal and get to the value matrix of being almost 5 times the cost of SDAO.
That's what I was coming.
I don't know if I can get there. We could do SDAO a couple times. Even though there's no guarantee, but at the end of the day, I would like to do it once.
Would it help if I had SDAO be at a meeting to
If they could be here next Thursday, yeah.
Thursday?
Yeah, that'd be great. If Randy's still on and he wants to zoom in next Thursday, I always entertain hearing it from the horse's mouth and leaving things up for interpretation.
Just wanted to add, as you guys think this through, the big difference between SDAO and Western Fire Chiefs is the way that they recruit, as Randy mentioned. They maintain a pool of applicants that they're continually reaching out to. So they're going to be actively reaching out to those candidates, asking them to apply. The other big difference is, as he mentioned, the way they run their process. They run the process and then tell you these are the applicants, whereas SDAO will gather applicants, gather resumes, and then have the board review those applicants. So it's more control in the process through SDAO than through Western Fire Chiefs. Adam, as you mentioned, I am willing and able to also reach out to candidates, just not to the same level of Western Fire Chiefs. So just want to put that out there as you guys see through the information.
Is there a reason specifically that those two are front runners for?
Well, Providence out just timeline wise. I mean, unless you guys want to wait till September to get all our world, but I'm not interested in that. And then ESCI, I haven't seen their email, but it just sounded like they didn't really have a defined scope. They kind of just all over the place. And to be candid, working with them through our fire district effort, the ball was dropped more than once, and I'm not interested in handing the ball back.
Perfect, thank you. Good.
A concern that I have, I feel like we're already late in the game for this process. Do either of these companies help with even an interim chief if we needed to go through that process? Or is that internal? How would that work if this process is not as fast paced moving as we expect it to be, right?
I'll defer to Vicky on that.
Finding an interim chief for any position, it sometimes just happens really organically, right? Like
Yeah.
Internally, or somebody knows somebody. But really difficult to put an interim unless you have like for this long, right? So maybe somebody's retiring, comes back. So it's kind of the same thing of reaching out to somebody and asking if they would be interested in this really temporary position. So
Sure.
it's doable, but there's still a process.
And both agencies do try and offer those services if they have folks available. The availability of people that fit what you're looking for. Or if they have people available, because there's not a lot of, I know both of them are struggling to find, they have, some of them have people available. Depends on the level of work and what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think overall the interim chief process and how we want to go about that would just come down to board direction and what policy we want to set.
Sure. Okay.
So.
So we'll table this till.
Yeah, as far as recruitment goes, I just want to make sure we weren't tabling job description.
No, yeah, just to recruit part. And my direction will be to bring back SDO if they wish for the next meeting to just kind of explain their process and if you have any questions for them to help with your decision making. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
and Western Fire Chiefs if they'd like,
I'm sorry?
and Western Fire Chiefs if they would like to be on the call. again.
I'll make sure I'll make sure that if they're not on the call, I'll make sure that they're invited.
All right, so that brings us to our next item of business, which is approval of fire chief job description and salary range.
Sorry about that. I was taking some notes. What you have in front of you is a crafting of what the fire chief's job description used to be for the city of McMinnville, what the fire chief's pay salary schedule is for the city of McMinnville currently. And with Vicky's help and input, the transition to the district requirements for the chief that are different than what the municipal chief requirements are. So that's the document that you have in front of you at this point in time. And regardless of which company you use, we're going to have that document ready to rock and roll with that salary schedule to go out the door so that we can be moving the process along. Without that, it just will delay the rest of that process further along.
Yeah, understood. So we can definitely dive into this tonight and hopefully land on something that flows out. Knowing who we're going for the facilitator, just so that's packaged and we can go once we do that. So with that, I'll open it up for questions or what's currently in the job description.
This has been updated recently,
Yes,
not just for the fire district, but it reviewed the entire,
yes, the entire package has been cleaned up.
and has a salary range been updated recently?
So the city went through a salary study. I'm sorry, 2021.
Was the executive team involved in that though? I thought that was just.
Well, it was changed.
When they did the salary study, they did benchmarking of the market, and so the executive team was included that. That's how the salary schedule was established. So this chief position was placed based on benchmarking of the market in 2021, and then cost of living adjustments have been applied based on the city rates.
Okay.
Can you speak to the range, the 114, 616? Seems like a pretty large range. What's the thinking behind that?
So again, this is numbers based off the city's salary schedule, so that's where we pulled that from. Oftentimes, there's a big range though in positions because you can hire somebody that maybe doesn't have all the experience, but you believe can get there. So sometimes it's called like underfilling. So you have that range where you have that option, but then you have it to the high range where if you have somebody with a lot of experience, you can hire them at that level. So that's the reason for the range. It's just the breadth of experience a candidate might bring to the table.
Has there been any, in regards to salary range, has there been any exploration of other districts of similar square miles, FTEs, ASA size and things like that, that aren't city departments, but they're independent?
I haven't done a comparable look.
I don't know what districts those would be in.
Yeah, I haven't done a comparable look in before the survey was done.
Okay. Any other questions on salary range or thoughts on salary range?
I just have concerns that, similar to the concerns we expressed about the hiring process, if we don't get this right, then we could find that we don't have people applying that we wish would, or we might not get the number of candidates or quality candidates that we'd hope to get. And so I'd have to maybe defer to other people who have more understanding of the salary range. I don't.
Current salary after review.
Yeah, we can do.
So one of the options could be that to move it forward, we could post it. This is the current salary range with the salary under review. So that they understand that there's the potential. And by the time we get through the process, there might be a decision made on what that new salary looks like.
We can also compare, there's a bigger conversation that has to be had because there needs to be a salary schedule created for the district for all employees that are in the association. So it is a bigger project. And so I think that's what Rich is referring to. And we'll review it as we go through this process, but we can pull that out separate as well. What I would be concerned about is creating a review process for the chief position that we might not want to apply to the other positions as we review for pay.
So we don't know who our comparables will be for other admin staff or.
I don't personally at the moment, but we could look based on whatever factors are to the board. Is it?
District specific, is it operation specific? I mean, we're talking Lebanon, if we're talking district specific size and similarities.
I do have concern of comparing it to any city department.
Right.
Because they have more support, and I feel that a district, independent district chief or independent district admin has a different workload and responsibility that they can't fall back on their other team staff within the city.
I can, I can contact the districts and get their salary ranges. That's not an issue. And I can bring that information back to the next meeting. That I can have done by the next meeting without a problem. The real question is going to be in the benefit packages, which we're not even close to being able to have a discussion on. And if that's the board's wish, I can get out there and get the information on the salary ranges. It'll probably take me a day of some phone calls on what the chief's salary ranges are.
Would you be able to get package comparisons or just range of salary?
Oh, I can get it. It might take a little longer for them to put the packages together. But I can probably ask for copies of the chief's contracts. See what their package looks like. The challenge is that on the packet side, we're
Post back by Tuesday.
yeah, we're not going to be in a position to be able to put a full package together for that position. So,
I think the other thing that's important is that the job description is different than the job posting. So the job, really what's important in the job description is the content, and we can always update salary based on future information and benefit package. So the job posting is where we would put additional language such as under review or special considerations in the hiring process, a little bit more information about the district, that kind of thing. So the job posting has some of the job description language, but it's not going to be what goes out for recruitment.
So can we focus on the content of this description tonight and before we make this posting, agree on a salary number in the next meeting or two? If we're not agreeing with it on a facilitator until next meeting, we're probably not posting this till
Right.
the first week, second week of August.
right.
How does that sound for you guys? Try and make some headway tonight, but not land on a salary number tonight.
Yeah.
Get some more information.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's dive into what we're looking for in the next chief and Rich, is this verbatim for what your current job description?
No. Some of the essential functions are the same as what my essential functions were. But the narrative about being the CEO and budget officer of the district and any of the CEO and board relations are all new from my job description.
Okay.
Looking by heading.
Huh?
Or just looking at them generally and, okay.
Yeah, if there's anything you want to call out that we should nix, make modifications to, or if there's something you're not saying in there that you want to add.
Okay. I would just pose a question about the, under special requirements on the must reside within 20 minutes of McMinnville Station 1 within 6 months of appointment. We feel that would be a limiting factor, or is it the rationale behind that? Is that typical common practice?
Well. There are, well, this is in someone else's, I mean, I didn't create this job description, this came from another location. There is not necessarily, well, I'm under a residency requirement to live inside the city of McMinnville from my previous employment. But as the board, there's usually a method of, depending on the level of expectation of the board on the chief, and their availability to the community in the event of emergency, there's usually a time, that was where that number came from.
Yeah, I certainly see value in
Yeah.
having someone
Yeah.
live in the city that works here as well, of
Yeah.
course. But I'm just wondering out loud if that would be a limiting factor. I'm seeing that could be, maybe the time frame could be adjusted. I don't know.
Time frame for moving or
Time frame just to be.
Oh, the amount of time to get into that
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah, and or the time, the 20 minutes to maybe a longer.
20 minutes seems arbitrary to me, as opposed to, I mean, are we, why not 30 minutes?
yeah, and I don't know, and my other thought thinking about is, you know what are you wanting to get out of that? So are you wanting to ensure that they're here on a second alarm fire within a 30-minute window, or you want to ensure that you're on a third alarm fire, or what is our purpose for that, other than just making somebody be a member of the community? And can they be connected as a member of the community without living in the 97128?
Like I said, my requirement, even though we had a district, was within the city limits. Now that we're a district, we could say within the district. If you're looking for that community and within a year, or
Yeah.
I like it. I'm just concerned it may limit applicants. That's all. But I see 6 months, maybe that's 9 months or a year.
I think if you're trying to attract a candidate that is going to stay and help build this, then the year isn't. It doesn't seem crazy to me to offer that much time. Just, do we want to, if you give them a year, is it then they have to reside within the district? Or they still have a 20 to 30-minute window?
Yeah, is that 20 minutes driving normal, or is that 20 minutes?
That go 3. Yeah. I don't know too much, but just thinking out loud.
well, if you went district, then you could just drop the time requirement. That way you're because you can live up Peavine and be a 40-minute drive time, but they're still within the district.
I'm good with changing it to district, not having a time frame.
Director Traffic, thoughts?
I just go back to what you said, what we plan on. Having these limitations, what do we expect? Why are the limitations there? So that we can answer those questions that asked, right? Like. Do we expect, like you said, do we expect them to respond on a second or third alarm fire or what? I guess, why is that requirement there?
Yeah. You guys are more the fire service.
I would,
That's
to answer that question, I would expect the fire chief to be able to respond and do operations when appropriate. And so, under that consideration, maybe the time frame or living in the district makes sense.
I guess I would propose living within the district within 12 months. Or the ability to reach station 1 within 30 minutes. Because you could live all the way up Peavine and you're in the district. But you're not here within 30 minutes, or you could live on the other side of Whitestone and be in the Amity Fire District, but you can get here in 15. But I think really we're just trying to establish a 30-minute rule or let somebody live within the district.
Yeah, good with that.
We think that meets the intent of what we're trying to accomplish here.
So modify it to say within the district or within 30 minutes,
30 minutes to station 1.
within 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months for the district requirement.
Okay, got it.
Anything else that jumps out to you guys? You know, as far as certifications go and the potatoes of that, where ask for equivalent or combination of. Do we want to clean that up at all?
Or which one?
Qualifications.
You know, when it talks about 10 years of fire and EMS experience with at least 3 years in position with full supervisory responsibility, is that pretty typical of a position like this? Those timeframes?
Yeah, 10 years of experience in the service before you can apply traditionally. 3 years as a supervisory role. Depends on the department you're in for, especially from the chief's position. If you're coming from a larger organization, that's going to be much more stringent because you have a larger pool of applicants with a lot more folks that have been in the business a lot longer. When you're a smaller organization and you're recruiting from internally and externally for positions, that tends to be closer to the norm.
You wouldn't see that as being limiting or.
I don't think it would be limited. 10 years of experience and 3 years as a supervisor. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't, if you're asking if it's limiting, no, I don't think it's limiting. I think that opens up the door more to more opportunity.
Vice President Smith, what about the like ICS certs and NFPA and hazmat stuff? Is that what
Yeah.
you're looking for? And
Yeah, I see the ICS 100 to 800, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8. That seems appropriate and probably typical.
Pretty standard, I would think.
Same thing with hazmat ops and instructor 1, officer 1. Mentioned 10 years of fire service experience, probably get most of that within those first 10 years, I would think.
is there anything not on there you think you should add? From a certification standpoint?
See anything wildland wise? We are typically responding or.
There are things out there, but I didn't put them on there that they would count more as like extra credit, like executive fire officer graduation or the certified chief, what's the term?
Your CPSC.
CPSC, yeah, chief officer. So those are independent opportunities for you to go out and try and get higher level professional credentials. Some people will have them, but the majority, that would really restrict your applicant pool if you put that in.
Yeah.
To me, that would be something that was more of a, an extra point rather than.
Yeah.
I would think most candidates would have some wildland usage of boss or about.
Okay. Do Hearing you guys are good with qualifications, required knowledge and skills, is there anything in the 3 bullet points you guys wanna amend, edit? Delete, add? And the last one, physical requirements.
Some of this seems a little confusing to me.
The physical requirements. I'm open to wordsmithing that. What do you got?
Oh, I'm just curious if we need all the bullet points or if there's a way to simply say that somebody should be in good overall physical health.
So the reason that a job description lists those specifically is when a job description comes into play for FMLA or workers' comp. So when somebody has to go out and they say, can you perform the functions of your job? They have to be listed out in detail to say, you're like your job description says they have to lift so many pounds. Well, when a doctor looks at that, says, can they perform the functions of their job? And they have to have that detail.
There you go.
Yeah, perfect. So bullet point 3, frequent movement is necessary in an office setting and meetings and conferences, et cetera, for long periods. Can you clarify that for me?
Sorry, can you read it?
Says frequent movement is necessary in an office setting and meetings at conferences, et cetera, for long periods.
Yeah, so this is like, again, if a doctor's looking at this, they can say, okay, they're in an office, they're gonna have to be up and down out of their chair, they may have to go to different meetings, go to conferences and things like that. So it's really just describing what might be required of employees in their work environment.
And that's pretty typical language.
If you feel like anything is missing or you feel it's pretty complete.
No, I think it covers it pretty well. We took a variety of job description. Tried to pick out what we felt was appropriate for the size organization and how it would work and fit. I mean, you know, I took 12 Valleys on their price range, but I didn't think you'd buy off on.
Talking about it.
I'm just teasing. Yeah, but we did try and modify it to what we thought was the best for the size of the organization, even for the next couple of years. What we felt was appropriate, right with the job description.
All right. So. No further discussion. I would entertain a motion to approve the job description as presented with the amendment. That's a salary rate is undetermined.
I'd make a motion that we approve the job description as amended.
Second.
All in favor, opposed? Yeah, please. I think that's.
Mr. President, we'll turn this next section over to Vicky for her presentation on discussion.
So I just wanted to update the board. Yesterday, the administrative team, with the representatives and I met to talk about the transition of the fire district and all the things, all the details that come along with that. So transitioning employees, records, benefits, all those things. Together, we agreed that we should prepare an MOU to roll the collective bargaining agreement to the district. The contract does currently end in June of 2024. So negotiations for the regular contract would begin in January. And the intent is to create an MOU and then start the negotiation process right away. The intent of that MOU, of course, is to ensure that employees don't suffer a loss in benefits or employment conditions, and that they continue to receive representation from their association. Before we finalize an MOU, though, we have many things that, as a group, we want to work together to come to an agreement on. So those things include health insurance, personnel records transfers, so what transfers over from the city, the leave transfer from the city, deferred comp providers, and voluntary benefit providers. As you all know, health insurance is a very big topic and it's a large expense that comes with it. It's also very time sensitive because open enrollment generally happens in the fall for an effective date of January 1. So we know that that's a very time sensitive issue. So we have agreed to create a smaller group to get started on that conversation right away. We'll be having another meeting next week with a smaller group. Also, as a part of this meeting, we all agreed to form a committee to talk about shift scheduling, which seems really important to the crew. The goal of that committee will be to assess the new schedule using common metrics such as injuries on the job, sick leave, and error rates to determine permanent change in schedule effective. So we're looking forward to working together on that, but we'll be of course working through that process with the committee to see exactly what that looks like.
Any questions for HR director? All right, thank
I guess I
you.
do, so I do have a question. So you talked about the committee, like forming a committee, is that something that will then move forward rather fairly quickly, or
The committee for the schedule change?
the schedule change, and then did you mention a committee for looking at health insurance?
The smaller group for the health insurance. So that committee will meet next week for health insurance. First, and then the committee for shift scheduling, the intent is to get the conversation started soon. The initial conversation was to start maybe testing the new schedule in January. So it is time sensitive, but not necessary. And that's not obviously set in stone because the committee still needs to meet, but we are planning to get started on that work.
Thank you.
And as that, will you report back to us, or that'll be something that? the committee chair reports
I'm
back?
not sure who will be on the committee yet, so I'm not sure how somebody will report back.
Thank you.
Question for clarification on
Yeah.
the committee for health insurance. Is it looking at a variety of vendors or just a plan within your current
Variety of vendors.
variety of vendors? Okay,
We're not even certain that we can stay within our current plan. I have a phone call with them tomorrow.
okay.
So that may not be, it may or may not be an option. So because of the number of our, we're currently insured with CIS and with the break apart, we don't know that if our number would be allowed to be a group within CIS or not.
So CIS, if you have small number of employees, it's based on your experience rating, which means your rates could be much higher. If you have more employees, you go into the larger pool of CIS and those rates are more set. So that's the. Yeah, that work.
So we're looking at a variety of options to bring to the table, including the one that the local brought to the group, so we can have an informed discussion and make the right choice and help us move it forward.
Understood. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to board committee and the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I do know we need to appoint somebody to LoSAP. Chief Law talked about that briefly at our last meeting, and Chief Law has a minute to brief us on LoSAP and what he's looking for. And great.
We're being recorded.
Meeting board. So LoSAP is the Volunteers Length of Service Award Program. Chief Giddings has overseen that since the implementation in the mid-90s. One of the things, we have a very unique plan that no other organization in the country has, and it's a defined benefit plan. And annuities and other things have caused this plan to become a very expensive plan. And one of the things that Chief Giddings approached to the administration about a year ago, Chief Giddings is the volunteer assistant chief who is, I don't want to say the plan administrator because that's you, but oversees the plan from the volunteer standpoint. And he would like to look at options of going from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan. And that would be where the district would pay X number of dollars per response or per point instead of the defined benefit plan. He's got several different numbers, several different options available within that and how to make it fair and equitable for the volunteers and the fire district. The plan calls for a group of individuals to be on the committee, and that's from the original plan. That includes 2 members at large from the organization, from the volunteer organization, a chief officer from the organization or an officer from the organization, a administrative rep from the fire department or fire district. And formerly it was the city manager as the city representative that would transition with the district over to the board of directors, a representative of that. And so that's kind of the gist of it. And we're looking for that person to fill that role.
Any questions for Chief Law on LoSAP?
So the changes that they're talking about, would that affect just current volunteers, or would it affect prior volunteers as well?
That is part of the discussion. There have been a couple different options that we can, he did, I'm sorry.
No, feel free, go ahead.
He did apply, he's done some different modeling of what current volunteers, if we rolled all new volunteers into a defined contribution plan, if we gave the member an option to go defined benefit or defined contribution, or if we kept everybody who's already in the plan at the defined benefit, and all new members at a defined contribution. He's got 2 or 3 different models that outline that.
With when the plan first started, the design of the plan was funded in 3 ways. There was contributions from the organization. It was a whole life insurance plan, and it was the opportunity to buy annuities to use once they retired to purchase their retirement, which is $400. If they're fully vested and fully pointed out, they would get $400 a month for the rest of their life, or however that rolled out. And they had to do away with their whole life insurance plan within the plan. So what they would do is when they retired, they would cash out their whole life insurance and offset the cost of the annuity by using those dollars to offset the cost. And now they no longer offer annuities. So we are basically running a mini PERS plan. The cash in the bank is paying for the retirements, and that's it. And while there is $875,000 in the bank that will be coming over to us, if everyone were to stay in the system and stay in the plan, we're a little short, about $100,000 as we see it. So that part of the concept is to modify the plan and adjust. And that's where the different models come in, how to make it more financially viable, how to provide some sort of a reward for the volunteers that counts for something, but doesn't bankrupt the plan. And that's really what we're looking at. Your mini PERS group looking at modifying a plan that would make it more viable for long-term solution.
And is that money currently like managed and invested like part of
It is. It's the company that we are running the program through, VFIS, and their Glatfelder manages an investment account. The money is in the bank being managed through an investment brokerage, and that's part of the fund and the process that we pay for.
Is that making headway on that $100,000?
Their investments they're trying to, but what they do is to try and start they look at our valuations, and then our contributions every year change based on how their investments are going to try and keep us where we're at. We're contributing about $50,000 a year right now.
How long have they been managing the fund?
Since its inception. Yeah.
Now that we all understand LoSAP, I would entertain a motion for you to be appointed as our LoSAP.
I would be interested in being, but I don't know if it would be a conflict of interest because I am a vested member of that.
Same here.
I'd be interested. The details out here already as well.
With Treasurer Traff being the treasurer and he's not a vested member, I think that's probably a clean appointment for us. I would like to make that motion if I could get a second on that.
Second that.
All in favor? Any opposed?
So I would like to go back to one point on that. Unlike other investment accounts or retirement accounts, this system, when the term vested is not an accurate representation of the process. You're qualified in the plan. The funds within the plan, when the city transfers to, they are currently city funds. If at any time the city chose to take those funds out and go use them for something else, they could do that. When they transfer them to us, it will be the same concept. Those funds will be, I want to make sure everyone understands that as that asset transfers, the value of those dollars come into the system. They're in the program, they'll be in the plan, they'll be where they were. But those are actual cash assets of the district now. And while they're in an investment plan, when you say vested, it locks that money legally. They're actually qualified in the plan. We use the term vested interchangeably, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, board information reports. Did anybody have any information they want to share? All right, that moves us to our information only department reports, and we'll start with local 3099 and President Godfrey's draft.
We had a good meeting yesterday, productive. So,
Come up to the mic or over here. Well, we're recording, so we gotta have it by mic.
we had a good meeting yesterday, labor management meeting, talking about the transition and everything that goes along with that. It was productive, but as everyone spoke to today, there's a bit of a road ahead that I don't think any of us saw. And we're learning as we go. But I think we can get there, and I think we can get there in a quick turnaround, a short time, but there's a few more hurdles that we got to get through. So that's all we have.
Thank you. I don't see anybody from the volunteer association, but Chief, did you have any correspondence from volunteers?
No, I did not. I thought he was going to be here this evening, but oh, next week. Okay. Okay, he'll be here next week. I apologize.
All right.
Yeah, no, they can. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Oh, that was the volunteer. Yeah, no. Okay, no.
Now, item 3 is fire chief's report.
Thank you. We have a busy schedule of a lot of things coming down the pipe, and I'm going to be forwarding out Monday draft set of board policy manual draft. Obviously, we're going to put it on the agenda for the next meeting to start working through it. But there are 24 policies, and I'm asking direction on. You want me to bring a couple of policies per meeting? Do you want me, I mean, I'll give you the whole binder, but do you want me to schedule a couple of policies per meeting? Or do you want me to just put it on there and we'll work through however many you want to work through for the evening? Or we can tentatively put on an agenda, 3 a night, 3 an evening. I don't know what your preference is. Because it's aside from that, we have things like LGIP account authorization. We're going to have 6 or 8 action items discussing. We still have this work to do. We have I'll brief you on the rest of that stuff in a minute, but there's a lot of things coming down the pipe, business world. The work that we're doing with the union, with health insurance, as well as benefit packages. In addition to the biggie is the breakaway from the city agreement, the IGA that we'll have to do with the city for the separation of the assets, resources, and personnel. That will be taking a lot of work and a lot of input from the board as we work through the process. One of the big things on the agenda next week will be our financial situation and the decisions that what decision the board wants to make on separation from the city in the financial world. Do we want to make the move for January 1st? Do we want to stay with the city and allow them to continue to do the financials till the end of the year? And then if we choose to move out January 1st, I'll provide some options for you so you can make a conscious decision on what you think might be the best way to go, because we have to make that decision early on in our process. Also, in order to make sure that we can meet the time requirements to build out if we decide to move away quickly, to build out that process. And we'll have options available for the board next week on that. So those are some of the things that are coming down the pipe. There's a lot of work and energy going into a lot of that stuff. And your meetings are going to get fuller and fuller as we have a lot of things to do really quick. Get the budget approved, do that kind of stuff. Now the meetings are going to start filling up with more and more items like we're doing tonight, and processes and agreements and RFPs for purchasing for items like fuel. And there's just going to be a lot of vendor changeover, transition RFPs and that type of work going on. And that's all going to hit your plate because of the way the district process works, because I don't have the authority to do a lot of that stuff without the district permission. So until we get a purchasing order placed in order, I've asked Truman to already forward that to me and get the contract in place for the purchasing policy. He said he's going to get that over to us, and I don't know if it'll be on this agenda coming up or the one after. But that way we can lay out some of those parameters where some of that won't have to come to the district, but some of it will, and those types of things. So there's a lot of that going on. LGIP is an investment account, and I'm not advocating that we use LGIP in place of anything else. But when we get the money from the rural district, we're going to want to put it into an investment account of some sort. So I'm going to work through a process with our bank and with the state and get ourselves enrolled in LGIP. And then if you choose to invest the money that way, it's available and ready to go. If you choose not to, that's okay too. But we need to have that account up and ready. So I'll be working through that process. Scott and his team will be working through the LoSAP. We're working through the finance side of things. September 6th. For your calendars, is the first Wednesday of every month is our volunteer business meeting and officers meetings. September 6th at 7 o'clock, Larry Giddings, who will cross the 50-year mark this month, I believe. It might be September is his 50-year mark. It will be his last officers and business meeting. We'll be giving him presentation for Larry, along with a thank you and a cake, and the process, and the volunteers will be there to support that. So you're all invited. If we will post a notice that the board has been invited to a public event and there'll be no business conducted. So
What time would it be?
feel free to come. 7 o'clock on September 6th. And Larry Giddings has been with us for 50+ years, and he's been a staple in our volunteer and our organization, and we're going to miss him a lot. It's going to be a huge hit to the organization. He's been a leader in that volunteer in the organization as a whole for a long time. So, and then the other things coming down the pipe next week, we'll be doing a standby for
Golden Knights.
Golden Knights, thank you. I have to say Goldwing, but that's my motorcycle. With Golden Knights will be jumping at the airport Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:45 to 3-ish. We'll have an ambulance out there on standby for them doing that. August 1st is National Night Out. We'll have our aerial volunteer presence and some of our staff down at Discovery Meadows Park starting 5 o'clock. Popcorn wagon will be out, a bunch of volunteers down there. Law enforcement will be there. They'll have food carts, all that going on in Discovery Meadows. So the fire district will be there representing. August 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th is the county fair. Chief Law and Hannafin are coordinating some first aid standby stuff. We have the ambulance that goes out there for the rodeo. And then we're gearing up for the air show the last 3 days of September and the first day of October. That's all hands on deck, all fire apparatus that's available, we have ambulance crews. We have private ambulance on the flight line in the event of an issue, but we have medics on the flight line in a cart, and our apparatus are out in the field. So it's a full day event. We'll get you some t-shirts so you can be members and work your way into the scene. We can show you how folks are set up and what we're doing. We have a command post at the trooper's office. We have a operations chief stands out on the flight line next to the air boss up on the tower, and everybody else is scattered out amongst 3 3 wins, and it's it's just everybody, all hands on deck for 4 days plus.
What's the retirement party?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we're in the busy cycle. Chief Darby's, I mean, we have all of this, the holiday, the festival things that go on in the city in the summertime with the Third Street closures and all that stuff going on. So everyone's kind of going on all gears. So am I missing anything? You sure? Okay.
Does Cruise in McMinnville put additional demand on the fire side, or is it more on the police side?
That's more on the law enforcement side. PD has to staff up for that. We staff up
We have in the past, but we didn't necessarily find.
the need?
We've got multiple events in one weekend that we might.
Yeah. Yeah. The events we usually that we do staff up for, I think, were the Looney Tune parade. What the Alien Days? Do we bring an ambulance on for Alien Days, or do we not this
We
year?
have in the past.
Okay, yeah. So sometimes we bring it, we staff up for the local events. More often than not, well, it's kind of like Looney Tunes, right?
You want Space Jam, right?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a lot going on, and I'm crossing lines here because I didn't ask the assistant chiefs to touch base tonight, but I wanted to kind of just lay everything out on the line of what we have going on as an organization, what we're working through, and we'll keep on plugging along. And we're doing a lot of good work. I appreciate what you did tonight. I'll try and get SDAO online for next week, make sure they're here if they have any questions about SDAO. And I will make sure we have the feedback back on the other questions that you asked for with my job description, as well as the and salary range, as well as the other stuff. And I'll hold it there.
All right, correspondence, other than the Dennis Gex email that was sent to all of us, that'll be in a minute packet. Is there anything else anybody's received they wanted to share?
Received no other letters or information.
Email, Mr. President, from First Federal. Are we expected to sign something for them?
Yeah, we have, you need to build your customer profile, so either stop by a branch or you can fill that out and email back to them. I'm a little worried about my information, so I'm stopping by. Personal thing. Anything else?
There was a request for us to attend maybe an open house with McMinnville Water and Light,
Oh, August 9th.
August
You
9th.
guys get so there's a watershed tour August 9th. That's for elected officials only. I know House Rep Elmer, Senator Sharp from the Amity area, Andrea Salinas, who toured the station and expressed interest of helping with some rural fire apparatus potentially down the road. The first 2 have for sure committed. Salinas is still waiting to get back to the mayor. And potentially Ron White might be there. So if you guys would like to see a more in-depth watershed tour than what you might have seen in the past, it's they're supposed to go a little bit more in-depth than the past. So I went on the watershed tour a year ago and they told me I'd see things I didn't see last time. So it's August 9th, I believe I'll get an email out to you guys with the invite.
8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Deadline to RSVP was the 24th of July.
You can still RSVP. Okay, on there. 20. So anybody would like to attend that? I haven't formally RSVP, but I intend to make the point.
Did you find it interesting?
Yeah, it's actually very interesting.
So do we expect that we'll have 3 or more going?
Form, we would want the clerk
Post it.
to notice that.
Yep.
So we just need to communicate. I mean, their deadline's the 24th. He still has plenty of time, or Donna has plenty of time to notice that after the 24th. So by next Thursday, make sure we know, if you're in or you're out.
Okay. We can post it regardless, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
just in case. Not a problem.
From the city, I believe it's just the mayor and I are committed to it, right?
Good.
And any other informational items? Thanks for bringing that up.
I did see there's a golf tournament through the special districts coming up. If you guys are interested for for us, basically. You guys golfers?
Sift through my email and try and find that. What's the deadline on that?
It was in September sometime. It's at the Newburgh Golf Course, Shield Glen. Like $45 a person. Four people maximum.
Okay.
I would like to take a step back for just a second, ask a question. You are registered. Your request was registered for the SDA training opportunities. You indicated you were interested in going to the Newburgh, or the Newburgh.
I was looking at Newport.
Newport, thank you. Newport, was it, who was it that wanted to go to the Newport one?
I ended up changing, that didn't work for me, so I think I shot an email with a couple different dates. Salem was where I was.
Stay, okay.
Is there still time to?
Yeah,
register
it's
for the
August and
Newport-
September. I'm sorry.
To register for the Newport one, is there still time? for-
I can verify and check and see. Are you interested in the
I
Newport
think
one?
so, I gotta recheck the date.
We're still looking for lodging, so
Pardon?
we're still looking for lodging for that date, so we haven't confirmed yet.
Okay.
Take the motorhome down.
Are those back to back?
Uh,
Are they two? No, one's in August and one's in
One's August
September,
and
right?
September.
Okay, all right, okay. And Ray, you were looking for Newport also, right?
yes.
Okay. I have a special rate at the Motel 6. You want me to help you?
They come with plastic.
I'm gonna go back to the board policies. How would you like, what would you like, how would you like me to present that to the board?
I was gonna bring that up here in a second.
Okay, sorry.
So currently, our meetings are set up for the second and fourth Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. Is it of your guys' wish to only meet twice a month, or do you want to meet more regularly for these first couple months so we can knock out some of this stuff and not have delays? We can agree on that now. They can just all be basically regular meetings and not special meetings or emergency meetings. And my other question would be to staff, is there capacity on you guys' side to do that?
I think for the next couple of months, it might help. Even at least if we had 3 meetings instead of, 2, it would probably, it gives us the week to week is kind of quick turns for me to get the packets, get the information and work with the team to get all the stuff ready. So if we got a break in between there somewhere, that will buy us some time because tomorrow I'm working on Thursday's packet to have the information I have and get the rest of this information back to you in a timely manner. And if we could do 3 meetings a month without stressing us too much. And I think that would probably be helpful. If we go to 4, these first 3 have been a lot. So don't get me wrong. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but there's still a lot of other stuff going on through August and September. So I think we can still be productive, get done what we need to do, but I think the extra week would probably help.
Okay. Hearing that, is there any desire to meet more regularly than our 2 scheduled meetings a month?
I think it's helpful, absolutely.
Okay with it.
Yeah, I'm available as needed.
You guys want to do the second, third, and fourth weeks, or do you want to do the first, second, fourth, or?
You want to just schedule every Thursday for a couple months?
If we could skip the first ones, that would be helpful.
First month?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Second, third,
So
fourth.
for the month of August and September, we'll meet the second,
Second, third, and fourth.
Thursday at 6 p.m.
With the addition of the extra meeting, I can, most of the agenda stuff that we discussed that I was going to have on the agenda will keep on the agenda, but I can move the policy board manual to the extra meeting in the middle, 2 weeks away instead of, or the middle of the second meeting in August.
The third week of August,
The third week of August, sorry, yeah.
2 meetings from now.
Yeah. And that way we can get the business that needs to happen to get the accounting things and the stuff cleaned up and some of the decisions with the city and put that kind of work on a meeting by itself. Unless something else pops up, obviously, but Or we can start working on it in that meeting. I'm okay either way, whatever the board would prefer.
So you mentioned the purchase order policy. Will Truman have that turned back by the 27th?
I think we probably, I think we'll have it on the meeting. Well, I don't think we'll have it in time for the 27th.
Okay. So let's just start board policies in August and just do like 3 board policies a meeting.
I'm perfectly fine. I'll send you the whole packet.
Yeah.
And I'll take feedback throughout the process. I'm perfectly fine with that. You can respond to me on the emails. I know some of you have been very, very cautious about that. You can respond to me on the emails I send out to you, BCC, because it won't go anywhere else but just to me. So if you have questions or you want to shoot me feedback, that's perfectly fine.
How many board policies did you say there?
I think there's like 24.
Let's do 4 meeting. That is through it too.
Yeah, the first 4 are pretty simple, but I think 4 meeting would be doable.
Yeah.
Doable workload.
Because that'll get us done.
And you'll have the packet so you can see how big and how much or little you want to change, and you can make those decisions, you know, at the next board meeting. Hey, let's just do 3 next because there's a big one coming up or whatever.
Okay. That sound good for everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, our next meeting will be Thursday, July 27th at 6 p.m. And I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:20 p.m.